Hi, I acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land upon which I sit, the Gumbaynggirr people, and pay my respects to elders past, present and emerging. I also pay respect and gratitude to the ancestral spirits of the lands that we all live and work on. It's been a really long time since I came on here and talked about followings, so that's what I'm going to do today. We've just come back from Sydney, Beck and I. Beck, as you know, helps me run followings, thank goodness. And we were attending the Future Women Conference, which was amazing. And we've come back very inspired, but also acutely aware of all the challenges that corporate Australia and the government of Australia, states and federal and local, all face in the coming years. For me, my greatest cause for despair right now is climate action. But there's plenty of work to do in plenty of areas, so we're just going to get on with it. As many of you know, the learning centre that we built in 2017 was closed for 5 months last year due to COVID restrictions, and it reopened in September 2020, so it's been open again for almost 6 months, which is really exciting. And there's lots of COVID safe practices going on, and classes are back 7 days a week, still for free, still with the same teachers, because we were able to continue to pay those teachers during the lockdown, sort of like JobKeeper. If you're an Australian and you know what that is, we were able just to continue paying their wages throughout the lockdown. So that was really great, and it meant that all those great teachers that we've always had were able to return back to the centre when we were able to reopen. As you may have also heard, the gentleman who has been president of Uganda for almost as long as I've been alive retained his presidency earlier this year. So not a lot of change happening on the government front in Uganda, but we are doing what we can do on the ground with your support, thank you, to make sure these children in these rural areas are given an education that they deserve. You know, it's a human right to access education. And so through the skills-based courses that we're offering and through this place for the community together, the Busubi Learning Centre is just a vital part of the landscape there in Busubi now, which is so lovely and something that I think all of us, whether you've supported us financially or in spirit, which I'm telling you is just as good, can be really proud of. Despite the adversity faced in 2020 and 2021, the local leaders of the centre, our partners, did not lose sight of the bigger picture. They've continued every single day to turn up, to show up for their staff and for their students, and to teach and to share their knowledge. And it's just so wonderful to watch. We get daily reports, and if you ever want to take a look at them, you can just hit me up and I will forward them over to you. And a lot of them appear on our social media and on our blog, on our website, so make sure to check them out if you're ever looking for an update. And yes, I should be getting on here more often and updating you in person. Sometimes facing the camera is not the most exciting thing to do. So I appreciate you accepting that I only get on here every so often. Obviously, our fundraising model was disrupted pretty heavily by the fact that we couldn't travel to Uganda anymore. And honestly, I'm okay with that. Don't get me wrong, I love visiting Uganda so much. And I love taking people to visit Uganda as well, especially when they're fundraising for a wonderful cause like followings. But the whiff of colonialism was getting far too strong. And for me, being on the sidelines and letting these local leaders do what they were born to do is much more fulfilling and much more satisfying and much, much more important. So we are pivoting. We're changing the way we raise money. For so long, you all have supported us so well, but it's time for us to ask for a little bit more from people who have big corporations. So that's what we're up to right now. We've got some grants proposals in the works. So we're changing up the fundraising model, and we are putting a really heavy focus on governance. Governance of what happens on the ground in Uganda and governance of what happens here at Followings. So there are child protection policies and procedures being implemented over in Uganda, and that's a long process, you know, making sure we've got all the training happening, making sure that everyone, not just children, that visits the centre is in a safe place. And we're taking a look at home as well, so making sure that everything that Followings does is completely above board. we are due for a financial audit as a charity. That's just something we have to deal with. It's expensive though, and we have to foot that cost. So we are looking for an accounting firm who will do that for us and hopefully not charge us $1 jillion. And we're really focused on growing. We just want followings to be doing more. So the focus on growth is great, but I can't do that all by myself. And I can't even do that with Beck, no matter how much of a superstar she is. So we've recruited a few extra people to come on board and help us out. And if you think you've got something to offer followings, please reach out. Let me know what you think you could do for us, because we want to grow and we know that we can't do that without bringing more people on. The reason for growth is that from time to time, challenges get in the way, and when we have a limited budget to work with, things like what's happening right now at the centre, like a big thunderstorm came through and knocked out a bunch of solar batteries, stopping computer classes in their tracks, that becomes our focus, and we would rather not be distracted by things like that, able to throw the cash at that to fix that just because we have it sitting in the coffers, which we don't right now, rather than... and then continue on with what we're working on, continue with that growth. We're so excited once we move into a new growth phase and a new fundraising model to be able to provide new programs at the centre, provide the funding for them. So shoemaking and catering and digital storytelling are top of the list at the moment as programs that are going to be introduced in 2021 once we secure this little bit of extra money that we need. Just to give you an idea, for the financial year just gone, followings only cost $12,000, and that's like $1,000 a month to pay the wages of these wonderful folk who are imparting their knowledge onto these beautiful students who are just looking to learn. And imagine what we could do if we had double that, 25,000, which just isn't a lot of money. And there's so much money out in the world. And let me tell you, that is what we're focused on doing right now. Finding it, getting it, using it to help. So there's your update from your friendly Followings Foundation founder, me.